This past weekend, the United States deported 55 Iranian nationals, sending them back to their home country after months, and in some cases, years of uncertainty. The operation was carried out under tight security at several major airports, with U.S. immigration officers overseeing the process from start to finish. For many of those deported, the journey marked the end of a long and difficult chapter, filled with hope, anxiety, and ultimately, disappointment. The move has drawn global attention, not only because of the number of people involved, but also due to the fraught and often tense history between the United States and Iran. News outlets around the world have covered the story, with analysts debating the motivations behind the deportations and what they might mean for future diplomatic relations. In Iran, the news broke quickly, with state media and officials highlighting the return of citizens who had been living in the U.S. Some Iranian leaders have used the event to rally public sentiment, emphasizing national unity and the importance of supporting those who have come back under difficult circumstances. For decades, U.S.-Iran relations have been defined by mistrust, sanctions, and diplomatic standoffs. This latest deportation is now being viewed through that same lens of suspicion and rivalry, with both sides interpreting the event in ways that fit their own narratives. The focus, however, has fallen most sharply on the Iranians themselves, men and women who had hoped for a new beginning in America. Many had left behind families, jobs, and familiar lives, only to find their dreams abruptly ended by a government decision. The emotional toll has been immense, with families separated and futures thrown into uncertainty. Each of these individuals carries a personal story, stories of ambition, struggle, and resilience. For some, the deportation means returning to a country they barely know anymore. For others, it's a return to loved ones, but also to an uncertain future. Their lives have been fundamentally altered by a decision made far from their control. In Iran, the government is framing this as a humanitarian issue, calling for compassion and support for the returnees. Officials have promised assistance and resources, but the reality on the ground remains challenging for many. Meanwhile, in the United States, authorities describe the deportations as a matter of law enforcement and national security, emphasizing the importance of upholding immigration laws and protecting borders. This event serves as a stark reminder of how international politics and government policies can upend the lives of ordinary people, leaving them caught between nations and uncertain about what comes next. The story first surfaced through Iran's official judiciary news agency, Mizan, which is often the first to break sensitive news that the government wants to frame in a particular way. The initial report was brief, but unmistakably pointed, setting the tone for how the event would be discussed within Iran. By choosing Mizan as the outlet, authorities ensured the story would reach both domestic and international audiences with a message crafted to their advantage. This move signaled Tehran's intent to control the narrative from the very beginning, shaping public perception before outside voices could weigh in. The government's swift response was calculated, aiming to present the deportation not as an isolated incident, but as part of a broader pattern of U.S. hostility. Iranian officials quickly confirmed the deportation, using the opportunity to criticize U.S. policy and highlight what they describe as a pattern of increased removals targeting Iranians and other nationals. Their statements were echoed across state media, amplifying the message and ensuring it dominated the news cycle. Mojtaba Shasti Karimi from Iran's foreign ministry publicly acknowledged the event, giving it state-level significance. His remarks were carefully worded, emphasizing Iran's concern for its citizens abroad and framing the deportation as a violation of international norms. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, a U.S. official quietly confirmed the flight, describing it as a routine deportation, not a targeted action. The American response was understated, almost procedural, with officials declining to comment on specifics or motivations. The U.S. downplayed the event, emphasizing it was part of standard immigration enforcement. Officials stressed that such removals happen regularly and are not meant to send a political message, hoping to avoid escalating tensions with Iran. Iran, in contrast, seized the moment to make a political statement, using the news to rally public opinion and draw attention to what it sees as unjust treatment of its citizens abroad. The story became a tool for domestic unity and international criticism. This stark difference in messaging reveals the deep divide in how each country wants the world to see the deportation. For Iran, it's a symbol of resistance and injustice. For the U.S., it's just another day at the office. The complexity of the story lies in this gap between public proclamation and quiet procedure. Behind the headlines, the reality is shaped by both political calculation and bureaucratic routine, leaving the truth somewhere in between. Iran's government has framed the deportation as a result of discriminatory U.S. policies, not just immigration violations. Officials claim the deported Iranians chose to return due to harsh conditions and discrimination in America. This narrative paints the U.S. as hostile and Iran as a protector, welcoming its citizens home from adversity. By emphasizing discrimination, Iran shifts focus away from possible immigration violations. The government's language is designed to evoke sympathy and cast blame on the U.S. This framing is part of a broader diplomatic strategy, using the event to score political points. For Iran, it's about rescuing citizens from an unjust system. The story becomes less about deportation and more about national dignity and international rivalry. The U.S. government, on the other hand, insists this was a standard enforcement action, not a political statement. Officials stress the flight included deportees from multiple countries, not just Iran. By grouping Iranians with others, the U.S. frames the event as routine law enforcement, not targeted discrimination. This approach aligns with the administration's broader immigration crackdown. The U.S. refuses to engage with Iran's accusations, sticking to a legalistic explanation. For American officials, the nationality of the deportees is secondary to their immigration status. The U.S. sees this as law and order, not international conflict. The starkly different portrayals highlight the ongoing diplomatic standoff. The deportation flight was anything but direct, a journey shaped by the complex and often tense relationship between the United States and Iran. With no formal diplomatic ties, the process of returning Iranian nationals to their home country is far from straightforward. Every step of the way, the lack of direct communication and cooperation between the two governments is felt, turning what could have been a simple flight into a logistical puzzle. The journey began on American soil, where the deportees boarded a plane bound for Cairo, Egypt. Cairo served as the first stop, not just for refueling, but also to drop off other deportees from different countries. The airport, bustling with international travelers, became a temporary crossroads for people with uncertain futures. After Cairo, the group continued on to Kuwait. Here, the Iranians were required to transfer to a Kuwait Airways flight, as no American or Iranian airline could legally operate a direct route between the two nations. The transfer itself was a delicate operation, involving careful coordination between airport officials, airline staff, and security personnel. Each stop along the way demanded meticulous planning and cooperation from multiple countries. Airport officials had to ensure that all paperwork was in order, that the passengers were accounted for, and that security protocols were strictly followed. These layers of bureaucracy highlighted the political obstacles that exist between the U.S. and Iran, making even routine travel a challenge. The multi-step route winding its way across continents and through several countries stands as a physical reminder of the deep divide between the two governments. Each leg of the journey is a testament to the barriers that politics can create, even in the age of global air travel. In a world where relations were normal, a direct flight from the United States to Tehran would have been a simple matter of booking a ticket and boarding a plane. But in reality, such a straightforward option is impossible, forcing everyone involved to navigate a maze of international regulations and diplomatic sensitivities. Instead, the journey became a symbol of the fractured relationship between the two countries. The empty seats and cautious handshakes along the way serve as subtle reminders of the mistrust and distance that persist, even in the most routine of government operations. Even the act of deportation, something that might seem straightforward, requires the involvement of third-party countries and a web of complex logistics. Every passport stamp, every layover, and every transfer is a small piece of a much larger story about international relations and the challenges of diplomacy. The route itself, winding and indirect, tells a story of division and diplomatic distance, a journey shaped as much by politics as by geography. Deportation, or removal, is the formal process of sending a foreign national out of the U.S. for violating immigration laws. Reasons range from illegal entry to overstaying a visa. The process involves legal proceedings, where individuals can present their case or seek relief, Asylum. If a judge orders removal, ICE arranges transportation back to the person's country of origin. The US typically charters flights for this purpose, as with the 55 Iranians. While the government sees it as law enforcement, for those deported, it means uprooting lives and facing an uncertain future. Each case is unique, but the outcome is often life-altering. Deportation is a legal process with profound human consequences. The deportation of these Iranians is part of a broader shift in U.S. immigration policy under the Trump administration. The administration has prioritized enforcement, expanding the range of people targeted for removal. Policies have tightened visa rules and increased scrutiny, affecting both legal and undocumented immigrants. The goal is to restore rule of law and deter future violations. This approach has sparked controversy, legal challenges, and fear in immigrant communities. Supporters argue it's necessary for security and jobs. Critics call it inhumane and divisive. The Iranian deportation is a flashpoint in this ongoing debate. It highlights the real-world impact of policy shifts on vulnerable communities. Beyond politics, the deportation has deeply personal consequences for the 55 Iranians. Many had built lives in the U.S., with families, jobs, and communities. Some leave behind children who are U.S. citizens, now facing separation or relocation. The trauma of deportation reverberates through the broader Iranian-American community, fueling fear and uncertainty. Even those with secure status feel vulnerable amid rising tensions. Iran uses the event to stoke anti-American sentiment, while the U.S. frames it as routine. The timing amid heightened U.S.-Iran tensions adds to the sense of crisis. These individuals are caught in a geopolitical struggle far beyond their control. Their stories remind us of the human cost of international conflict. The deportation of 55 Iranians is more than an immigration story. It's a reflection of the deep rift between the US and Iran. Iran frames it as discrimination. The US calls it routine enforcement. The complex flight route underscores the lack of diplomatic ties. For those deported, it's the end of an American dream and the start of an uncertain future. For the Iranian-American community, it's a source of fear and insecurity. This event adds another layer of tension to an already volatile relationship. Ultimately, it's a stark reminder that international politics have real, lasting impacts on ordinary lives.